This channel is supported in part by my book, The Greed of a Dime. It captures the details of what it was like for a backyard inventor to be able to pick up the phone and call upon a Fortune 38 company and get their foot in the door on a cold telephone call. It captures everything that I went through in high definition, technicolor detail. So to be able to do this, I want to give you a little backstory. By the time I reached the end of my junior year at the University of Connecticut, I was in the pre-med program and I couldn't cut the upper maths and physics, so I withdrew. I then put myself through truck driving school, which was a novelty back in the early 80s. And I got my license, and I went out on the road, and before long, I was the proud owner of a tractor with over 1 million miles on it. During this period, I learned how to drive, I learned how to run a business, I learned how to wrench on it and become a mechanic, and I was fascinated with the fuel economy, parts and maintenance intervals, and oil filters and oil drain intervals. And that's what was the environment that was the incubator for my ideas. So then I would go back after a stint to UConn, and I got my degree in psychology, which is absolutely worthless, by the way. But anyway, upon graduation, I went out and bought another truck, and it was a Kenworth K100 cab-over sleeper with a 350 cat in it and a 15-speed to the dash overdrive. Anyway, I got awarded these patents, both on oil filters. One was an additive-treated oil filter. The other one was a Teflon-treated oil filter, which was specifically designed to increase fuel economy, decrease engine wear, and it was a passenger car oriented design. So when everything was ready, the patents, the trade secrets, the prototypes had been made, produced, they worked. I did use trials. I had all the research that I could do, test studies, laboratory reports, gathered from around the world, from the SAE, from the Society of Lubricating Engineers and Tribologists. I mean, I was armed to the teeth. So I had a all-encompassing business plan that included a marketing plan, an engineering plan, and a manufacturing plan. And I knew the complexion of this market. I knew who the major players were, and I knew in what direction it was going. I had studied it to the teeth. So I pick up the phone and I make a blind cold call to the largest passenger car manufacturer in North America, and that was Fram Oil Filters. And my phone call was fielded by the main switchboard operator, and I didn't have any contact in mind. You couldn't know these things back when I was doing it in the early 90s, so I just wung it and said, just put me in touch with somebody in the marketing department, as high up as you can get me. So my call goes hurtling towards the marketing department, and a mid-level associate in the marketing department, a young buck, intelligent and hungry, fielded my call. Over time, I would begin to feed him my paperwork, such as my paper patents, my marketing plan, my manufacturing plan, things that were not trade secrets, things that I could do and not endanger my secrecy or hurt myself in any way. Eventually, we would get far enough along that it would come down to me making a presentation to the legal department, to the brass of Fram, the marketing department, and about 30 engineers were present. So I gave this presentation, They decided they were going to enter into a license agreement with me of some sort, meaning a pre-license. So I signed a proprietary information agreement as that day, and then we went on and we signed a much more encompassing agreement. I believe it was around 4 pages. It was a trade secret agreement. So now I began to school them as to what I had, and I felt that I could do so safely under the guise of those 2 agreements. And it was expressed to me verbally, which doesn't mean crap, that we're going to enter into a license agreement at some point. I just wanted you to know that. So this book takes you on the journey of what it was like to sell the leading oil filter company in North America and the world a breakthrough technology and teach them how to do it. They had not made anything new or anything innovative in the field of oil filtration for approximately 40 years until I was awarded these 2 patents and came up with my trade secrets and my oil filter product design. So this book takes you on the journey deep inside the Fram oil filter division. You get to meet the marketing people, all of the engineers, the head of strategic planning and worldwide development, the lawyers, of course, the accountants, the graphic artists, the whole shooting match. Now, my dealings with Fram went well past Fram. It went into their division called Allied Signal Automotive Aftermarket. Allied Signal in general had 3 main components: the automotive division, a huge chemical division, and an equally big aerospace division. Now, here are the products that the aftermarket division made, and this is just a small ingredient list of what they did. They did Garrett turbocharges, Fram oil filters, Autolite spark plugs, which was a huge name in spark plugs back then. The entire Bendix family of products. They had bought Bendix along the way. So they had Bendix heavy-duty brakes, Bendix automotive or passenger brake systems, Bendix air dryers, air compressors, and clutch fans that they sold on the heavy-duty side. Bendix was quite a specialty division, and it was very prominent in the Class 8 division, and all of these components were regularly found on the diesel engines of my time, the Detroits, the Cummings, the Cats. So that was a big deal. This company was well positioned to do what I intended for them to do, which was to make, to market, and distribute this innovative oil filter. As it was, Allied Signal Automotive Aftermarket was already doing approximately $60 million a year with Walmart nationwide and in Canada. So I was poised to get into Walmart. That was one of my goals. They were also selling their products, their fuel filters, their air filters, their spark plugs, their oil filters, into the major automotive chains throughout both the United States and Canada. So it was a natural fit and a natural progression for me to want to pick a company like this. So the point of the book is this. I take you deep inside the marketing of what it's like to market a one-off disruptive product that you have properly documented and protected. That's number one. Number two, I take you deep inside the industry I ended up selling my products to. My contacts and my journey and my involvement went all the way up to the senior vice president of the automotive division, as far as Allied Signal proper was concerned, it went all the way up to the Chief General Counsel, the CEO, the head of human resources, and the Associate General Counsel, who was their chief intellectual property attorney, and he's the guy that wrote my license. So I had touched hands with many, many people. So I'm going to take you deep inside a Fortune 38 company and show you and explain to you and paint the picture of the mood, the people, the goings-on, and the journey in excruciating detail. This really is not a boring book about inventing and marketing. It's a cliffhanger. It's on the order of an Erin Brockovich, a Civil Action, or a Barbarians at the Gate. Now, after I had given them the recipe and were getting ready to cut the covenant and the license agreement, they now begin to shake me down. They wanted everything I brought. They called me a team member, a team partner. I was involved in some very important decision-making processes and present at various meetings, and I spoon-fed the engineers and the marketing department. And when it came time to pay me, they wanted to wrestle this thing away from me, and they actually told me at one point that they were going to go on without me. So the first 12 chapters is the journey. It encapsulates the licensing negotiations, which were drawn out to 3 hell-raising months where they almost stole it from me. Then we follow it up with the product being rolled out, which they totally screwed up. They missed SEMA, and they overpriced the product, and they did not package it properly because over 750,000 units were stolen within the first 3 months that it hit the shelves. That's how disruptive this product was. Anyway, in the first 2 years, this product sold about $200 million by default, and that sounds like a lot of money to you. But actually, what I invented was a $1 billion baby. This was a $1 billion repeatable business, and we could have decimated the competition, and I'm talking Purolator here. So the first part of the book is 12 chapters, and it's a journey, as I mentioned. The second part of the book is 25 chapters, but they're chaplets. They're 1 to 5 pages, and it is what I refer to as the aftermath. It is the circumstances and the contacts and the conversations and the various interactions I had with the company post-license. And what you have pre-license and post-license don't always mirror image each other unless you have performance clauses in the license agreement, which they were vehement about not putting in. So anyway, that's the run-up to my lawsuit. And I'd like to clarify something. The main company was Allied Signal, period. They were a Fortune 38 company. During my tenure with them, they were cash rich. They were not raising shareholder price value. It was a pretty stagnant period in all of technology and industry in the United States at that time. And hostile takeovers and friendly mergers were the thing. So they went out and they bought Honeywell. They were the acquirers. It was a friendly merger. They acquired Honeywell. They dropped the stodgy Allied Signal moniker, and they picked up the new handle of Honeywell, which was more consumer-friendly and more widespread in the public. And that was done in order to bolster their stock price, their share price. So Allied Signal went from a Fortune 38 company to a Fortune 18 company. And that is the Medusa that I ended up getting embroiled with in a lawsuit that I filed against them, a 9-count complaint that I filed against them in federal district court. And I went up against the 18th largest corporation in the world, with the 9th largest law firm representing them in the world with 1,100 attorneys. Honeywell had 250 in-house. They had an additional 2 or 3 30-man law firms. They were all involved. It was me for the first 2.5 years, and eventually it would be me, a very young lawyer that took my case on contingency. That's in the book somewhat. And it was him and I in a 100-year-old horse stable with a newly acquired photocopy machine. And we were taking on this army. And they settled with me on the eve of trial for millions. It's all in the book. So let me just say this one last part. The book is 377 pages, 250,000 words. Took me well over 1.5 years to craft. Not to write, but to craft. This book is as well written as any book you're going to pick up. It comes in a print, and it comes in an ebook. You can order it from Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart, and a number of other booksellers. Probably you could find 100 online that would carry this title. I have a whole page on Google, and I have a website, which leads me to say you can buy this book directly on my website from an encrypted link to the printer distributor, which is Ingram, which happens to be one of the largest companies in this space. It's a print-on-demand book where most books today, unless you're a very big, powerful person and you have a huge advance and a gigantic publisher behind you, most books today are print-on-demand. They're not kept in boxes in warehouses and shipped out that way. And most of them are print-on-demand, and that's the model I had to follow because I'm basically a nobody. One last thing. If you buy it from my website, I will make a couple of pennies more because we cut out Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and any of the middlemen booksellers, and it's just me and the distributor. I'm still going to come out with pennies. So here's a word of advice. If you have a story and a story worth telling, do so under the pretext and the knowledge that you're not going to make money on your book. It's a loss leader. It's a catharsis. It's just something you do. Don't plan on writing a book unless you can get a literary agent and get it out there for the masses. Because if you don't, it's not going to be worth the time and the energy. But I was driven to write this book. It was a journey that is near and dear to me. It was a journey of faith in myself, a faith in my product, and above all, it was faith in God and my Lord Jesus, because if I didn't have him at my side throughout this entire process, I would have gotten squashed like a bug. Well, again, thanks for listening to me. And now you might figure out why I sign off on all my videos as God blessing you all, because that's what I believe from the bottom of my heart. Take care. Have a good day. And again, God bless you.